Have you ever learned the same lesson more than once? Have you ever had a conversation that you wish had gone just a little bit differently? If you answered yes, I've got an awesome tool that I'm going to share with you, a habit that I think will be really helpful for you. It is called self-reflection. I'm going to share with you why it's so powerful, and I'm going to give you a way that you can get started in just 60 seconds. Welcome to Cutting Edge Faith. I'm Ryan Howard. This podcast is here to equip your faith for everyday life and help you navigate the cultural chaos of today. Self-reflection is something that has helped me to grow in every area of my life, whether it's my career or my relationship with my spouse or other family members or my son, and everything I'm doing with my church, everything I'm doing with this podcast, with YouTube, with everything that I'm doing. Self-reflection has made a big difference. And so I want to share with you some of the power of this tool and how you can get started very easily. In its most basic form, it's simply living an experience, reflecting and analyzing that, and then drawing lessons from it that you can implement into your life. It's really that simple. So it's important that I think we understand a biblical approach to self-reflection, because it can get kind of fluffy and a little bit mystical, and we want to avoid that. We want to stay in a biblical basis. So I'm going to give you two biblical principles that we can follow. I'm going to talk about the benefits, and then I'm going to give you three different methods that you can use to start using self-reflection right away. The first verse that I want to share is 1 Corinthians 13:5. It says, "Examine yourself to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves." And it goes on from there, but that's the first part of the verse, and it shows that self-examination, self-reflection is a worthy pursuit. To just think about how we are doing. How's it going? And this is something that Paul tells the Corinthian church to do. And so we would be well advised to do the same today. Now, the second set of verses is that we should not be doing it on our own. It's something that we need God to help us with. And that's shown in Jeremiah 17, verses 9 and 10. "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind, to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds." So this shows both. It shows that we can't really understand our own heart and our own ways. We need God to help us. And it says that He understands the heart. He searches the heart, and He can reveal that to us as we pursue Him. And so we know it is a worthy pursuit to examine ourselves, to have self-reflection, and we know that we must do it in partnership with the Holy Spirit. God needs to guide us as we do this, and He can reveal things to us and show us solutions. And I'm going to give you some methods on how He can do that with you. So what about the benefits? Well, I've already named a few, but just to be clear, we will have a greater self-awareness by simply doing this type of self-reflection. It can bring closure to situations, conversations, and events. What do I mean by that? Well, how many times have you finished something, finished a conversation, or finished working on something, and you go to the next thing, and you're still thinking about what you just finished? Your mind is still there, and you're not present in what you're doing. That's what I mean. If we take just a moment to reflect on what just took place, or anything that we need to do differently, or anything else that we need to capture, then we can transition and be present in the moment that we are in at that point in time. That's a really powerful way to bring closure to that one thing you're doing, and then bring you in to be present in the next situation that you're in. It can also impact your mood. It can help you get more clarity, help you be less irritable. That obviously, as you grow in your self-awareness and thinking about how things went, you get more understanding of yourself, your own emotions, your own thoughts, and paying attention to that. And it brings you more emotional control and self-control overall, just as you understand yourself more and pursuing that with the Lord. It also helps you observe and use what you learn. You can learn and observe things from your own behavior, your own actions, your own interactions with people, your own thoughts, your own emotions, and then you can use that as you capture it when you're doing the self-reflection. You don't have to learn a lesson more than once. Now, I mentioned that in the intro, but we still may learn things more than once from different angles, but we can certainly minimize the repeated need of lessons learned over and over. And of course, all of this brings us to continual improvement and continual growth. Now I want to give three easy methods that you can use to start using self-reflection right away. I'm going to start with just 30 or 60 seconds, and then we'll do one that takes a few minutes, and then one that can take up to an hour or even longer if you want it to. Remember, before we get into these, self-reflection is easy to do, but that means it's also easy to not do. It's easy to do, but it's easy to not do. And it's high impact. It's very powerful. I mentioned a lot of the benefits. and you're going to see just how easy it is here. The first method takes just 60 seconds, even 30 seconds, but it's just to simply, in any transition that you have throughout the day, to take a moment and just reflect on what just took place. So if you just finished a conversation, if you just woke up, if you just are going from one meeting to another, you can reflect on what just took place and think about, is there anything that you would like to have gone differently? Was there any tension? Was there any issues? Was there anything that you need to take and think about further before you go forward? Whatever it is there triggers? Was there emotional things that came up? Was there a reaction you saw in someone else? Anything that you want to capture and deal with. This could be meetings, like I said. It could be in a Bible study. It could be going to church. It could be when you're waking up, going to sleep. All kinds of things and different interactions that you have. Any point of transition. For me, this is especially useful in a way that I can really transition well and be present in everything that I'm doing. I remember being in meetings where a particular individual would have sort of a negative reaction to things that I would say. And as I took time to just quickly reflect on that, I could see that they really had a misunderstanding. They didn't really know where I was coming from. And so upon reflection, I was able to determine that, well, if I just have a little more runway with what I'm going to say and prepare them better so that they know where I'm coming from, well, then we can have a better interaction, a better atmosphere, and a better overall meeting with everybody else in the room. I certainly was able to do that. I just simply used what I learned, and we had a lot smoother relationship, a lot smoother meetings going forward. So I like to debrief between these different things where I'm just reflecting on how it went. You can use your imagination to think, how could this have gone differently? And just sort of play it out in your mind, because your subconscious cannot tell the difference between what actually happened and what you're just daydreaming about. And that's where we can leverage our subconscious to help to train ourselves to do things differently next time. And that's where that reflection can really come into play. The next option just takes 3 or 5 minutes, or you can take a little longer if you want to, but you can do it a quick version of it. And that's just to simply write down wins and lessons each day. What are some wins that you had from the day? 3 or 5 things, or even more if you can think of them. And what are some lessons you learned, either about yourself, about someone else, something you like, something you don't like. Maybe you should do something differently next time. What did you take away from your time of self-reflection? This has been very powerful for me. A coach shared this idea with me a couple years ago, and I started doing it. And, I used to think, well, I got 20 things I wanted to get done today. I only got 2 of them done. I got this list of 20, and it's the end of the week, and the list of 20 is still almost the full list there. I just really didn't feel like I was getting a lot done. But when I started doing this, writing down my daily wins and lessons, at the end of the week, it was about 2 weeks in, every day I'm looking back through this last week or so, and I'm just thinking, man, I got a lot done. There was a ton of stuff in there that I just completely glossed over, completely forgot about. And my opinion actually started to change. My view of myself, I was thinking, man, I'm getting a lot done. And so I'm not beating myself up. I still see the list of 20 things, but it just felt different because I actually took time to capture those wins, and I could see just how much I was actually getting done. So I want to encourage you to do the same. You can do it at the end of your workday. You can do it at the end of the day. You can do it in the morning and just think about the previous day. What I do is I just reflect on the day. I sort of walk through in my mind the day and just capture those things as they come to mind, either wins and lessons. And what I noticed was it almost seemed like time slowed down, because I would actually really become mindful and become present, and not on a phone, not engaging with something, not reading something, but just thinking and capturing it and really going through and taking my time. And you can do it in just a few minutes. And it's not something you want to rush through, though. You can go through the motions. After a month or 2 of doing this, I started going through the motions and it lost its power. So you really need to have a time where you slow down and just take time to do it. And if you need a few minutes to get present and collect your thoughts, that's fine too. Just make sure that you take your time in doing this. Another thing that I like to do is, with those wins and lessons, is at the end of the week, go through and just say, what are the big ones that are important that I want to transfer and keep and make sure I don't lose these? Some of those lessons you're going to want to transfer so that you're seeing them more regularly. What I do is I have a little notebook that I'm doing this in, and I'm on notebook number 4 now. But in the front of it, I take the first 5 or 10 pages and I just write down any of those ones I want to transfer, and I put the key things, and then maybe every few weeks or once a month I review all of those. And they're just important reminders that I want to capture and make sure that that I'm leveraging going forward? And you can do it with your phone. You can do, whatever it is, remove the resistance. Just make it so that it's something you'll actually do. And again, don't go through the motions. Now, the third option can take a little longer, as long as you want it to take, but you could do it in just 20 minutes or so, but you can take up to an hour or longer if needed. But it's really looking at the larger questions of your life's trajectory, looking at just reflecting on, how are things going? Are you going the direction you want to go? Is there any area that needs some adjustment? Thinking about family, thinking about finances, thinking about your walk with Christ, your spiritual life. What kind of inputs do you have? What kind of outputs do you have? What kind of fruit are you seeing in your life? What sort of adjustments need to be made? A lot of times just slowing down and listening and praying and listening to what the Lord will say will bring things up and will give you a motivation, will give you an understanding. A lot of times we don't need a lot of input from others. We sort of know what we need to work on, what we need to do, and what we need to change, and those sorts of things. One powerful way that we can think about a vision or a goal is to imagine 6 or 12 months from now, you and I are going to sit down across from the table, have a coffee, and you're just going to tell me how amazing the last 6 months have been, the last 6 months of your life, what you've accomplished, the new habits that you have, how your relationships are growing, and how you're just fulfilling, you're firing on all cylinders, doing all this great stuff that the Lord has given you to do, and your relationship with Him is thriving. And just, what is it? What is it? Your finances, new job, what is it? Write those down and think about, what is it that you're just celebrating, that you're telling me all about, and actually write it out that way. You can type it out or speak it into your phone or write it by hand, whatever it might be. And that's a great way that you can think about what's going to get you excited. And again, your subconscious is going to go to work on trying to connect the dots on how you can achieve those things. And you might get some ideas. So as you write those out, you can make a plan to go forward and achieve those things. An example for me is that I have a calling to write. I know God has given me prophetic words about it. I've felt it in my spirit for many years, and I just love writing. And so I finally created a daily writing habit. This is something that's, as I sit there, I just daydream about writing, and I just need to write. So I actually carve out that time, and I made a small commitment to write at least 15 minutes a day of meaningful writing. And so for me, it usually turns into more than 15 minutes, but that's the minimum. And so that's something that came out of my time of larger life reflection, because writing is something that feeds into videos, feeds into podcasting, feeds into my other writing. Obviously, it feeds into my devotionals with my family. It feeds into so many different things, and it helps me get clarity in my thinking as well. So remember, all of these things are easy to do, but they're also easy to not do. So what is it for you? Do you use self-reflection already? Or how are you going to use it starting today? Write a comment below and let me know. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.